Brought to you by Moonbeam Multimedia.
This is 16 to 1, a podcast about education, teaching, and learning. Hello.
Is this thing on?
It is. Welcome, everyone.
Welcome, Allison.
Hello.
She's back.
Allison is back on the pod. We've had you here before. Is this your third time or second time? I couldn't remember.
Third, I think.
Third? That's what I thought, too. I think you've been on twice
so.
before. Okay, you're definitely our most recurring guest.
Much to everyone's delight.
No, we're glad you're back. And you willingly added another book to your reading list.
Yes.
Just to appear here.
Yeah, we're having a combo book club / discussion of how you are navigating, you, Kate, are navigating this book in your senior English class. Is that what? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Where are you in the teaching of it?
It's a great question.
Yeah.
Where am I truly? I'd say halfway. We're like 50%.
Okay. So you're halfway through.
There are no spoilers also at this point. This book is how many years old? We're going to talk about what happened. So if you're thinking, I hope they don't tell me what happens.
We're definitely spoiling 1984. I do think that's past statute of expectation for spoilers. But yes, Allison, welcome back. Thanks so much for being here.
Yes.
Before we jump into the discussion, just want to remind everybody, sign up for the 16 to 1 podcast email newsletter to get the latest updates, episode announcements, resources, and workshop offerings from Moonbeam Multimedia. That is us. If there's a story in your local educational community that you think we should cover, we would love to hear about it. Please contact us using our website or write at hello@16to1.com. What's important to know when we start out with this book?
I didn't tell them that much to start with.
Okay.
I've been revealing it.
Okay,
That
along
felt
the
better.
way.
Mm-hmm.
It felt better. I told them about Animal Farm because that was my introduction to George Orwell. But honestly, a lot of the history of him and what he experienced, we've talked about as we've experienced Winston going through things.
Mm-hmm.
So when they're like, oh, that sounds like something the Nazis would do, then I would, then we would talk about, World War II for George Orwell and kind of what he was seeing and things like that.
You wait for the character moments to scope the
do.
autobiographical details?
Yeah, just because it's a lot to try to cover. I mean, you would have to cover multiple wars to
True.
really understand Orwell at any sort of level. So honestly, in English 12, I don't have enough time to cover
And very
all of
complicated,
those.
very complicated and self-aware politics, too. I think that's, especially for your audience, I feel like that would be a difficult
Yeah.
framing.
So like I told him the
piece.
publishing date, I kind of like placed that historically to say, he's writing this throughout the end of World War II and kind of what that world condition was. But a lot of the other stuff about him, I haven't even got to yet because it was just too much, honestly. That's
You would
what
have lost interest
Yeah.
with that group.
Yeah, exactly. I haven't even told them yet that he was dying as he was writing it. That'll come up, but I figure I probably won't talk about it till the end because I think it's interesting to wonder about Winston.
Was diagnosed with tuberculosis?
Everything is tuberculosis.
Okay.
Yeah, tuberculosis. He was like suffering.
Uh-huh. He's writing this in the 1940s as World War II is unfolding. He's fought in the Spanish Civil War, right? Okay. He was born in 1903, so he lived through the First World
In
War.
India.
Yeah.
Which makes it super interesting too. Prior to World War I, prior to the first Red Scare, prior to all of it.
Yeah, so you've got the social forces of British colonialism shaping your thought, and then all of these conflicts.
This is why I didn't start with the history.
Yeah.
I would still be teaching the history. I wouldn't have read a page yet.
You would have to get into the East India Company.
Like, we really would.
And I don't have a slideshow ready for that.
You can't watch all 5 of the Pirates of the Caribbean films.
Davy
framing
Jones.
for reading 1984.
See, I don't have that kind of time.
Yeah.
That's why, unfortunately, I left out a lot of the important history, it seems.
You're right. I think it's a little thick. I first read this book when I was pretty young. Have you both read it before now, or is this your first?
I had.
You had read it.
I had been
had
assigned
not.
it once.
This is your first time reading it. Okay, I'm gonna be
Do you
really
regret
curious.
it?
Yeah.
No. I mean, I got the gist of it from social media and like pop culture
Just
references.
living.
Yes.
Yeah.
Surviving.
You got the vibes were not great in it.
I understood the concept of Big Brother.
Yeah. I will say probably one of my favorite parts of reading it is that everything that our kids know about any sort of dystopian novel were reading the blueprint for it. So they're like in the Hunger Games when this happens, or in Divergent when this happens, or in even Harry Potter when this happens. I know that Harry Potter isn't the same world, but as far as education in Harry Potter goes, it's really not a dystopia at all. It's pretty much exactly what we live.
I do think JK, for all of her issues, I do think she correctly understood the dystopian educational bureaucracy.
I think that's actually what she nailed.
The rotating door of teachers.
Yes. So that part's really cool because a lot of our kids do like dystopian
They do.
Literature and movies and things like that. So
it feels very modern. The text feels very modern. It feels like it could have been written yesterday. Like some of the
that's
terminology.
Not a compliment, though.
No.
We don't want it to be relevant.
That's the scariest part of 1984 is that it feels a little too contemporary.
Yeah. I don't even mean with the kind of on the nose political nature of it. Although obviously
technology related too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the surveillance state.
The telescreens.
Yeah, I think aside from the facts of the totalitarian existence, there's also just like the vibes. That's kind of what I was going for.
Vibes.
Like
George Orwell would approve.
George Orwell, your vibes. No, I mean the environment, the sights, the atmosphere, the way people feel about themselves, the way people are stuck in this drudgery and everything's brown and gray is what I get the sense of when I hear this novel.
That's the point.
You never quite have enough. And there's a lot of bitterness. And I don't know, just this book was written so many years ago and it feels like it's steeped in a cultural moment that is still very relevant. So
I don't think it would take much rewriting to be published today, which I hate.
Yeah, it's not great. So
anyway,
before we sit longer in that suck, who is Winston Smith? What do your students make of him?
The things my students say about Winston are not things I'll say on the podcast.
Oh, why?
Well, more than one of them has called him a dirty dog, so
you dirty dog.
I do like that.
Okay.
So Winston is our protagonist. He is elevated in the party, capital P party. He has
the outer party, right?
Yeah.
He's a bureaucrat.
Yes, but he's above the proles, which is like
85% of the population.
That's their working class.
The working class. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But Winston's in an interesting position because he seems to know more than some other people do.
Mm-hmm.
And it's because of his work. He's basically a rewriter of history. That's like...
For the Ministry of Truth.
Yeah. So his job is to receive news, papers, articles, whatever. He rewrites it to reflect the accuracy of whatever Big Brother and the party missed. And then it's republished or just deleted altogether.
Yeah, or change it to adhere to what they said happened.
Yeah. It sounds like culture and history is like Wikipedia, in that we can constantly rewrite it and change it and tweak it and make adjustments to it. Mm-hmm. And it sounds like, okay, we're doing that for the sake of a particular propaganda effect.
Mm-hmm. Just to reflect whatever the party got wrong or right. In the first part of the book, there's a big section about how they got the chocolate rations wrong.
Mm-hmm.
They actually cut the chocolate rations, but Winston had to rewrite the article to make it sound like they had
raised them.
Exactly. And the entire time he's like, does anybody else remember this? He's really questioning himself to be like, do we all remember getting that info that they were cutting the chocolate rations during, I think it was like the end of the 2 minutes hate, and one of the times they find out.
Throughout the whole book, there's a feeling of not being able to trust one's memory because history is being erased and changed around you all the time. And there's a lack of rootedness in truth that comes with that.
Winston is in his late 30s.
He's looking rough.
He's not in great health. He's pretty frail.
He's missing 5 or 6 teeth.
He's got a varicose ulcer on his ankle.
He's got some
he talks about all the time.
Itchy legs going on. He does a lot of scratching of those.
I get the sense that he's flea-ridden when I read this book. That's what I think of when I think of him. Like, he's got fleas.
He's got
to. There's rats everywhere.
Everyone has fleas, not just him.
He sleeps in a bed that's infested with bugs. Like, he's got to.
Okay, he's totally got fleas. Probably some other critters, too.
Yeah.
Ew.
So that's Winston,
lice.
though.
Like, he's definitely had lice a couple of times.
He probably has tapeworm.
That actually would explain so much
He's
of
got
Winston.
A friendly resident
that would
tapeworm.
be the perfect ending. Mm-hmm. And then the tapeworm. So that's Winston. I think my kids have kind of felt bad for Winston a little bit, and now they don't.
Oh.
It was a very short window where we had pity for Winston.
Well, what do you think caused the shift? Was there a certain event in the book that put them over the edge?
He says some pretty horrible things about women.
Oh, yeah.
He's an incredible misogynist.
What's that about? That is another aspect of this novel that made it feel so very modern to me. The type of misogyny that's just baked into the way he describes women, the way he feels when he interacts with women. We get this constant inner monologue from Winston that is just full of filthy and violent thoughts to and about women. What? Why? Where's that coming from? We don't see party members being encouraged to be explicitly that way toward women. There is a propaganda effect, but it's more subtle than just be like, there's not like, women will be subjugated and serve their husbands. It's not that kind of propaganda.
Is Winston the first incel?
It feels really... It feels
Is that
really
the question?
that way, though.
That has to be our first question.
It feels like red pillar internet culture, 4chan bro culture.
One of my students insulted his friend and said that he's an incel, and then they looked at me and said, Ms. Schwartz, what's an incel? And I said, I'm not answering that question for you. That's a conversation you all need to have.
I'm not gonna be the one to tell you if you are or aren't.
No, because I'm not getting reported.
This is outside the purview of my educational duty.
Yeah, it's not my job to tell
College
you.
College did not prepare me for this, so no. Sorry.
I think he's maybe the incel of incels.
Yeah.
And I think that Winston might say that it's because of the arranged marriage of it all that fuels some of that misogyny.
Oh, because there are arranged party.
They're all arranged.
Yeah,
everybody is in an arranged marriage.
Ingsoc. So Ingsoc, English socialism, is the party. What I don't know, doctrine.
Yeah, I feel like they use the party, Ingsoc, and Big Brother sort of like interchangeable, but Big Brother is like the all-knowing.
Big Brother and Ingsoc, they put people into what they consider to be politically convenient arrangements of marriage, and you're forbidden to have sex in any way other than as duty to state. So he ends
Handmaid's Tale.
Yeah, it does feel like that, but I think you're right to point out that he's not taking personal responsibility for any of his misogyny, and it's like a convenient...
Yes.
It becomes
100%.
a convenient fiction for him to blame his misogyny on that stuff, that pressure of the state.
Yeah. I mean, that only benefits him because he couldn't have kids with his wife. So his wife is somewhere. He makes a couple comments about her.
Or maybe not. He's like, I don't know, she might be dead.
Yeah,
but probably not. She's probably still alive.
Yeah, like there's no...
He has the same interaction with his mother. He meets some character later on where he thinks, oh, this could actually be my mother. Like, he seems to have no meaningful thoughts about them in their absence.
But he like blames himself early on for his mother's death or for the separation.
Yeah, and the sister. Oh. He had a baby sister.
He thinks. Or maybe it was a bundle of blankets. He does have a little sister, but at the time of the bombing, he can't remember if it was her or a pile of blankets that the mom carried into like the tube.
That's really speaking to that memory alteration effect, like that you can't even remember if you have a sibling.
Well, and we learn his age like a couple times. Time does pass in the novel, but even he is like, I think I'm this age. That's the best he can do. Well, he's not supposed to keep track of it either.
No. When I was reading, I was like, oh, this is reminiscent of Frederick Douglass and what slave owners did to him.
Yeah. To intentionally.
Yeah, to take away parts of you and pieces of you and what makes you an individual and an identity.
Well, and Winston wasn't supposed to keep his diary. So there's no individualism there. I mean, individualism is a crime, too. I think it's called own self is like the crime. And it's like any sort of eccentricity, individualism that you portray about yourself that makes you something other than just a party cog.
What is thought crime?
What isn't thought crime? Thought crime is any kind of thought.
Yeah.
I tell my students, I wish you'd commit a thought crime right now. I just want you to think. They don't think it's very funny.
Well, what is it in this world? Why is it illegal? How does the party enforce it?
They watch you on telescreens in your homes and everywhere. They listen to you. They read your face. You can commit face crimes, which basically just means if you don't have like a pleasant face,
if you have any kind of reaction,
then you're going to be in trouble. So a thought crime is anything contrary to the party, any kind of thought that wouldn't be party sanctioned. You're not thinking about your chocolate ration or your job or
how great Big Brother is,
or going to the community center to do your activity, or going to, the square to watch the prisoners be taken away.
What do I need to do to be a better party member?
Yeah, like anything other than that is a thought crime.
Isn't it also the case that there's no law, so what is considered thought crime is basically arbitrary? At any given
100%.
moment, this thing
You can
or
get got for anything.
this thing or its opposite could both be a thought crime.
Yes.
Well, because Winston goes on about, I forget if he has a name, but the guy who is like a facial twitch. He's like, oh, he's going to get, what's the verb? Like, obliterated or whatever.
Yeah. That's
or dissolved.
He thinks Simon's too smart for his own good, basically, yeah. But that's why he knows Parsons, his neighbor, will never be in danger because he's too stupid to think, basically.
And then he is, because he talks in his sleep.
Death to Big Brother in his sleep. Isn't that what he
Down
says?
with
Down with Big Brother.
yeah.
He says it over and over and over again in his sleep.
There's some foreshadowing, of course. And now this is where this becomes an English teacher podcast exclusively. But he made a comment earlier. He was like, the weakest time for you is when you're asleep because you have no control of what you say. And so like that's a fear in front of telescreens, in front of your kids. And like that was the Parsons thing. Winston had it clocked immediately. He's like, the kids are going to be what get this family in trouble because those kids are like the Nazi youth. His daughter like chased someone through the woods because he was wearing weird shoes and she turned him in. Parsons, the neighbor, is like proud of his daughter for probably having that man killed just for having different shoes on. That fear and everything is built into your home because you're most afraid of even your own children or your own sleep.
That's what the party says is the purpose of children, is to keep the parents in check.
Yeah.
Is so they constantly have eyes on the parents.
Yeah. For Winston, in his little flat, his apartment, I don't know what to consider it, I guess a flat, his telescreen, like, he knows places in his room where he can be, where he's not as likely to be seen. And so he goes there to write his diary, or he goes there to look at his paperweight or whatever. So they're everywhere. And that's why he like sits where he does at lunch. That's why he sits and watch the, I mean, you have to watch the 2 Minutes Hate.
The inner party members can turn off the telescreens.
Or if you're a pro, you don't have them, which is crazy.
So we're really only monitoring this.
There are people who know too much.
Yeah.
I forget at what point they say it. They're like, well, the battle is only ever between the high and the middle. We don't need to worry about the low because they're never going to get above the lows.
And that's when Winston is like, the only hope is the proles.
Yeah.
Because they have the numbers to do it. But he basically looks at them the same as the party does, which is how he's been conditioned to, which is just that the proles are stupid and unthinking and unclean and everything else.
Yeah, it's really interesting to me how Winston sits on this fence of self-awareness. He's committed to rebellion in the abstract, but he is a propagandizer on behalf of Big Brother. That is his job, and he does it willingly every single day. He is showing up to these forbidden places, having these thought crimes, meeting with people in an unsanctioned way, but he hates women and shows up to the however many minutes hate. Is it? I can't.
2 minutes.
2 minutes hate? Okay, I couldn't remember. 4 minutes hate, 4 hours hate. It's a lot of hate.
I think it's always the 2 minutes.
He shows up to the sanctioned period for hate, is all I'm saying. And
required hate time.
He shows up.
Clocks in.
He shows up and he's just this walking contradiction of aware in some ways and then just brazenly, completely clueless in other ways, Yeah. He so easily contains these opposites in himself. And the cognitive dissonance of bearing all of that would, I think, be overwhelming.
Sometimes I think he just forgets. There are times when I'm like, he is working so hard to remember something.
Yeah.
That sometimes I can't actually tell.
Do you
if
think
it is
the effort of maintaining actual memory of the truth is exhausting him into this state of being?
I mean, he basically says it is. He basically talks about how tired he is of trying to remember these things and looking around at people being like, why aren't you responding to this? Don't you remember?
Like
2 days
our
ago.
life didn't used to feel this crappy.
Yeah, and just like all of the lies that they're fed about, we made all these boots, but people don't have shoes.
Or who they're at war with in any given moment.
Yeah.
And he remembers to some extent when the war switches, because they're always at war with someone. It's just a matter of who it is at the present moment.
Yeah, let's talk about that. They're in Oceania. That's his political unit that's made up of the former United States and the UK, right?
Down to London, yeah.
The UK
It's
or London is called Airstrip 1.
Yeah, it's like an occupied zone, it seems like.
Yeah, that's Oceania, and it's this totalitarian regime. What is war in this world? It feels like it's with this distant, unknown, and constantly shifting enemy.
I feel like that's
do
all
you
I
think
tell
it's
them.
do you think it's real? Do you
No.
think it's not, the war is not actually happening?
And my students think that they're living like normal lives there. My kids are like, I bet in those places it's normal. Big Brother has made them think it's like this.
The control over the messaging is so complete that people don't even know in a very basic way if that is really happening in that part of the world.
I forget if it's O'Brien or the book, but one of them says that all of East Asia and Eurasia are the same as Oceania. It's the exact same type of life.
Yeah.
So that's like all the more that you get.
Yeah.
So it's like, do you trust the book or O'Brien?
Right. Well, because all you know is what the party and Big Brother has told you about these places, because they don't actually have any. I mean, Winston goes to the countryside and is like excited about trees. I mean, he has a dream about the golden countryside. Like, that's how far away he is from this idea. So I actually, when my kids came up with that idea or asked me about it, I was like, I don't know why it couldn't be. There's nothing in the book that tells us it's not. What if that is what the war is about, and that there's not actually a war, but the war is keeping them out and keeping them in on the other side? Is it the information bubble that you're keeping? Is that the war?
I also think war inside an information bubble like that, or inside a highly propagandized nation, is a very specific kind of tool. It allows you to do things like put a narrative behind rationing that makes sense. It allows you to control production. It allows them to access these austerity measures and bend their will.
It also allows you to have unlimited patriotism because you can just bomb your citizens and blame another nation.
It's true.
You can.
And they do.
They do.
Winston speculates that that's what happens, right?
I kind of assumed it was just a scare tactic the whole time. The proles have like the illusion of freedom, so much so that they don't even go thinking or looking for anything. As far as what this world could be, they have more freedom than Winston does.
Yeah.
Winston interrogates one of these proles at one point, and he's like, do you remember, would you prefer to have lived then? And he like can't even get a straight answer out of the guy, really. And the dude is sort of just like,
I think it's on purpose.
He's kind of like, I don't know. Life is always sort of lame, and I don't
Life is
really
always
have
hard.
feelings one way or another. And Winston's like, you don't have feeling? What do you mean you don't?
Well, the way that I read that interaction was the old man thinks that he means, would you rather be young again? Not, would you like to, do you want to live under this regime?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because he keeps talking about, I know that you're saying you think that I would want to be young because I don't have all these medical issues, but now it's so much nicer.
I also think about that guy though, and this was something that we talked about in class, was like, why would he trust Winston and tell him the truth?
Right.
You're not going to tell some stranger anything. I mean, their entire system works because of the fear of others.
Right. They also have a dress code, so he knows immediately.
Yeah, he knows he's
that he's
in
a
the
party
party's jumper or whatever. It's
right.
Just leaning into the Brits at this point.
Only a sweater.
Just a sweater. Winston has no social skills. So I have no reason to believe that he has a read of people. And nothing about his world encourages you to understand people deep enough to understand their persuasions, beliefs, whatever. So I took that as Winston just sticking his foot in his mouth the whole time and not even being smart enough to think, why am I not getting an answer? And instead he's like, the proles are stupid.
Well, if
that's where he goes.
Why does O'Brien refer to him as a flaw in the pattern then? O'Brien, in his interrogation of Winston, seems to suggest that Winston does have some sort of special awareness.
He refers to Winston as the last man. We talk about manhood and adulthood in my class in terms of Emerson and Thoreau. What makes you a man? What makes you an adult? What makes you someone who can live on your own? So it's what makes him be set apart.
Individuality.
Thoughts.
Having thoughts at all.
I think that interaction I think it's a misread, personally.
I think Winston is an example of doublethink. Because
100%.
Winston is towing the party line in as much as he is extremely misogynistic. He is always looking down on proles, kind of unquestioningly upholding of this class and caste system, making assumptions about 85% of the population that they are too dumb to get on his level, basically. So he's like this weird, liberal, well-meaning bureaucrat type of guy who's got these aspirations of resistance. But he'll also, according to that one interaction he has with O'Brien, he'll willingly throw acid in children's faces.
Yeah.
He never has to.
No, he's not asked to do what, but he's asked, would you do it if that's what resistance meant? And he's like, yes.
And I believe
no
him.
problem. So I guess I'm just saying Winston does not have internal coherence.
I agree with that. I don't think he can.
Yeah.
He'd have to think too hard.
What is language? What is newspeak in this world?
I mean, they're attempting to get rid of as much of the language as possible, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
They're trying to strip it down.
They want it to be, what they say, 3 words eventually that can summarize your entire existence.
As English teachers, what is that? For, like a shrinking language, what does that mean to you?
Oh, I think it can only lead to good things.
I think we're a lot better if we say less.
Oh, okay.
What's his name? Is like, oh yeah, by 2050, there will be even fewer words, and we won't need to have edited it anymore.
Syme.
That might be Syme.
I think
too.
that's him because he's the one that does the
Yeah.
dictionary stuff.
But Syme is like pumped that the work that they're doing is so limiting. If we don't have the language to say what we're experiencing, then we're not able to share what has happened. And I think that that's how limiting is powerful.
So it's about controlling the truth of things.
And just for the human experience as well. If you can't communicate and you can't relate to each other, and you can only say, how was your day? And you say, ungood.
Yeah.
And that's the only vocabulary you have.
You've like no scope of the level of ungood.
Right. Right. Like that's
There's no nuance in that.
because I'm
story.
teaching Mouse right now. So I'm trying to imagine being like, the Holocaust was ungood.
Yeah.
There's no breadth or depth.
It sets up everything as a dipole. Good and not good.
Yeah.
We have a spectrum of 2.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, I think that's what the party would say it
Yeah.
should be.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
The other thing that the party does really well is it strips you from relations with people where you would have conversation. Like
Mhm.
married couples don't share maybe anything other than a house and kids. There's no
And
like
you don't feel affection for
yeah,
your
like
kids.
they don't intentionally pair you with someone you're actually attracted to. Like he said that multiple times. It was like if they actually think that you're attracted to someone, then they're not going to pair you with them. So any sort of relationship that would actually make you feel something other than good or ungood, you don't get to have. So even the elimination of those emotions is hurtful, right? Because you don't even have that to draw from anymore. Because the more that you live and experience these things, the more that you might adequately find the vocabulary to reflect it. And if you don't have these relationships and you don't have these experiences, then what are you going to reflect on? And to who will you tell these things? Winston has no one. I mean, that's why he's so excited after he decides he's not going to beat and sexually assault her.
Yeah, Julia.
That
There's like a correspondence between the size of his life and the size
Yeah.
of his vocabulary. Or everyone's, you
Yeah.
know. Yeah.
and we know he's hanging on to words he shouldn't be because he has his diary, but we can't even really tell you how much of the language he's clinging to. Because in his work, he does use more language than most. I think the fascinating thing about him is actually he is, with his line of work, he actually needs to know more language than most because he has to be able to know it to edit it. And you can't do that
Yeah.
if you don't know the language.
And there's this great quote by James Baldwin, because I love James Baldwin.
You do love James Baldwin.
I do.
You'll always work James Baldwin into something if you can.
Yes. And I forget the exact quote, but it's hanging up in my room that you read and you figure out that the experience that you're having isn't solely just yours. All of these authors and writers have had that, and that's the beauty of art, but that's the beauty of language. Because if you can't describe it, you can't know that anybody else is having the same experience. You can't, it keeps you completely isolated. And that's the whole goal of the party.
Well, and Winston even makes a comment when he goes to the pub. They're asking for a pint, which I love that scene. I think that's a really great scene because the old man's like, I want a pint. And they're like, we only have, half liters?
Liters and half
liters. And,
liters.
yeah. That man tells you that he remembers something of before because he knows you ordered a pint. And now they're like, we don't have pints. But the guy knew to say we have liters or half liters. So he knew in some way what he was referring to. But I love that that moment doesn't strike Winston as being more important than it was, because that should have been alarm bells for Winston that this is exactly the kind of person you want to talk to, because he was trying to find people who remembered before. And instead, he's still viewing them as like these dumb drunks who are just out here doing whatever, or they're stuck in their lottery, or they're stuck in their, whatever.
I think it's interesting that you're picking up on so much internal self-awareness amongst what Winston calls the proles. You have a reading of this that says that they are much more self-aware than Winston thinks they are.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah.
Well, I'm only pointing that
The
out
junk
because
shop owner would say so.
Yeah, no, I'm only pointing it out because Winston it can be hard to get through Winston's very limited perspective of them to see what they really are. It's hard for us to see who they really are because it's hard for Winston to see who they really are.
And I think they also they're able to have relationships with each other, which he doesn't get.
He doesn't have that familiarity of like a bar.
Yeah, he can't go into a pub and, I mean, when he does go in, I forget what it's called. Is it the Chestnut Tree Cafe? Is that
He
where
talks
gets
about the
his
Chestnut Tree
gin?
Cafe too, but
Wherever he goes and gets his gin, which is terrible and awful.
Victory gin.
Yeah, he doesn't, which that reminded me of America during World War II because we renamed everything.
Victory Gardens.
We renamed Dachshunds, Liberty Hounds, which I love.
We should have kept that one.
We should have. But they're able to have camaraderie and he can't. So he just can't relate to them in any meaningful way.
I think he just sees them as just exactly what the party wants him to.
Yeah.
And that's part of his limiting factor is that what he is seeing is something that he would actually be very interested in.
That's the part about him that's so confusing to me, is that he's so busy looking down on these people that he can't see that they have what he wants.
Yeah.
I don't understand how he can be, well, I do understand because this is what Ingsoc has programmed him to be like, but how he can spend so much time noticing certain problems to the point where he gets himself nabbed by O'Brien and the thought police. He can go so far down this path of rebellion inside his head, but he can't see these simpler, obvious things about the way people relate to one another that he is lacking so severely.
And I mean, he sees it with Charrington, the guy who owns the junk shop, where he rents the room. Because the first time he goes up there, he's like, they talk about that art on the wall, and it's of that church. That art should have been stripped. There shouldn't be photographs even in parole houses of churches or things of the before. And the shop owner's talking about how much he loved his wife and this like committed life that they had. And now he runs this junk shop, which is truly full of junk. And there's literally nothing in it that anybody really even needs anymore. And the whole time Winston's like, I could bring Julia here and we could have sex. Meanwhile, this guy's like actually telling him about some culture of the world in which Winston acts like he wants to know about. Maybe he thought he wanted to know about. But then by the end of it, he's like, I'm going to take my paperweight and go home and bring back my girl. And that's what he does. But he has these opportunities in the pub, in these places, to learn what he says he's interested in, but he doesn't do it.
He's so busy being his weird version of an evangelist for his secret ideas, his secret teachings. It's like, I want to clue you in, Proles, on my secret world that you don't know about. And they're like, dude, what?
And he's like, you have all the power. And they're like, how
What's
about
power?
a beer?
Yeah.
Yeah, like they're just like, do you want to buy some junk or do you want to play the lottery? And so it's actually kind of comical to me that they're so like, are you good the whole time? Because they're just like living. They're just like, this is our life. He's like, what if you thought more?
What if you had thoughts?
Yeah. It's like, Winston, my guy. Maybe
Honey.
it's you, honey.
What does art and entertainment look like in Oceania?
It's awful.
It's dictated by the party. It's whatever the party thinks that you should have.
It's movies of dead bombings
refugees
and, like,
being bombed.
Like war propaganda films?
Like there's like a ship of refugees and they bomb them and they watch them.
There's also lots and lots of porn. Just lots of porn.
So,
But that's all sanctioned by the party.
Yes, party sanctioned porn. That's
That's
what
Julia's
Julia
job.
writes.
The aspect of sex in this world is just so fascinating to me. And this has been
It's
part
not
of...
very sensual.
No. But then like, they were like, oh, we have artificial insemination.
Art sem.
So they're
Ew.
like aware that...
Ugh. Art sem.
I do hate that
That's
one.
just so sinister.
Yeah. But they care enough about the declining birth rate to spend time devoted to medical progress.
It's for the good of the party that they figure out art sem in some actual tangible way.
In the beginning of the second part of the book is where the dark-haired girl we learn is Julia and Winston. They go and have their rendezvous, as I called it, in the shrubs. And I made this running point for an entire day of class to keep describing that scene where they have sex, but never saying they have sex. And my teenagers just hate it. They're like, will you please just say it? Just say it. Stop making all these weird. I'm like, no, No, I'm just leaning in. So that's been the fun part, is finding all the ways to describe this. Because I was like, Winston wouldn't say that they had sex,
No.
right? Like, Winston would never be like...
He would find an Ingsoc euphemism.
He would find some kind of...
He calls it adultery.
Right.
That's what he keeps calling it. I've committed adulteries.
Yeah.
But there's no religion in this world. There's no law.
No?
There's no religion.
Is there?
Well, I mean, okay, I shouldn't say there is none.
There's not
I'm saying,
supposed to be.
according to Ingsoc,
Yeah, there is
there
none.
is to be none.
But we know that there is some.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
But him saying that, I was like, does he actually feel that way because he's married? Or does he feel that way because the party has ingrained in him that he's not to have sex and enjoy it?
I think it's the latter.
It's not like a literal
No, because he says in here,
adultery
he says,
since he is married.
he thought again of Catherine. It must be 9, 10, nearly 11 years since they had parted. It was curious how seldom he thought of her. For days at a time, he was capable of forgetting that he had ever been married. They had only been together for about 15 months. So, yeah.
It's the guilt of the act, not the guilt of the marriage and the...
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's probably both, but it also, in a way, doesn't matter. That's the fundamental thing. That there's all this worry about violation of party whatever, but also there's this deep commitment to the thought that actually none of it matters because whatever that is arbitrary anyway and will be arbitrarily enforced.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I think is the most insidious feature of all of this, is that nobody can ever have the feeling that their feet are on firm ground because everything is always shifting.
Mm-hmm.
What is perceived to be party loyalty is always shifting. Big Brother's mood today is always shifting.
But other art and entertainment, not a lot.
I don't think they would be able to explain what art or entertainment is.
The Parsons Kid has like a history book, and he talks about that some because he borrows it. There's like some sort of literature that kids would have.
There's got to be fiction because they talk about rewriting Shakespeare.
He does.
So like those things still exist somehow, but would we even recognize it as the art that we know that it is?
I also took that as a point of privilege that party members could read Shakespeare or something like that, but that it would be reflective of the party. I never read it to be like the proles could pick up Caesar.
No, they wouldn't
Someone
want to.
that. But the proles do have some more flexibility, it seems. But even then, who could read
It's
the
the
level of
illusion
Shakespeare?
of freedom.
Yeah. I mean, you have to understand it well enough to edit it to make it reflect the party.
You could do it. You could pull a Shakespeare and just remake the storyline and just add in your own details.
I do love that he remembers there was a Shakespeare, though. I think that's really beautiful.
They said that those were the more challenging things for the censors, basically, well, the people in Winston's job. Those great works were the more challenging texts for them to revise because they were so permanently affixed into cultural memory. And so they were like, it took us a lot longer and we had to be a lot more careful when we were revising Shakespeare to be in line with Ingsoc because everybody knows Shakespeare.
It's interesting thinking in terms of Shakespeare, of like memory, because we just got done with Hamlet. And that's Hamlet's thing, is how will I be remembered? Who will remember me? What happens to me after I die? And I saw that in Winston a few times. When he's getting tortured, when he's... I saw that, I was like, yes, the to be or not to be struggle.
Isn't
this
it
is the
weird
struggle.
that Winston isn't just disappeared? Why does Winston get his brain scrambled and re-released? He's like catch and released back into the wild. Winston is like... Doesn't that tell us that Winston is not dangerous enough for the party? I don't know. I guess at the end, I'm not really sure what that's supposed to mean. The fact that they just let him go back to his life and he's not a threat anymore because he loves Big Brother.
Does he? That's the question.
I mean,
that's the point of the book, right? Does he? Or does he just say it? And
Well,
it
I
doesn't
think-
matter what the truth is of the two.
I personally think he does. He very much loves Big Brother. He just thinks that he doesn't, but at the end, he proves to himself that he does. And has
His
all
decision
along.
shows it, yeah.
Is that the question? Do they correctly make that judgment about him? Do they incorrectly make the judgment about him? Do they successfully torture him?
My students are like, he's not that special. They're so
he's
undone
just
on
a
him.
guy.
They're just like, he's so boring and average. There has to be more of him. Like, that's all my seniors are like, I don't get the appeal.
He's the warning.
And I'm like, I get it.
The problem is if you get a Winston, then like you could eventually get like a Katniss or a Tris. Like that's the problem. He's a stepping stone and they know that. They can't let him go because if they let him go, then he'll breed someone much more dangerous.
They don't kill him. What you're saying on the one hand is true. That's why thought crime is thought crime, because they don't want people like that to exist. But yet they also go to the trouble of doing all this interrogation stuff and
But-
then just letting him go, which tells me they don't think he's dangerous enough
Yeah.
to be a real threat to Ingsoc.
I agree with you because what did he accomplish?
I also wonder if he's an experiment for them.
I kind of figured he might have been too because they seem to cling to him for some reason.
Yeah,
and
to see if their measures work so they don't have to vaporize everybody.
Well, and like if you watch him and you're like, okay, so the worst he's gonna go do is go fool around with a girl.
Mm-hmm.
He's gonna rent a room. You know what I mean? Like as far as like danger to the party, like Winston actually
Like he has an opportunity to topple the state, and instead he just goes and has sex with his girlfriend.
Right. He like flat out says, oh, if I could get the proles on board, we could take over. Like the power, like the transfer victory is the proles. And then he goes to the proles and he's like, tell me what you remember. Don't you wish you lived like this? Yeah. And then they give him a non-answer and he's like, they're stupid. And then he sleeps with them. And then like, well, she's not a prole, but I mean, he takes her there to sleep with her.
He did sleep with a prole at one point.
Yeah, he did. He's not a threat. Like he's not getting anywhere with it. Keep your secret diary, Winston.
What are some of the best questions that your students are asking about this book? And I guess to you, Allison, if you were going to teach this someday in the future, what kind of questions would you be asking about this book?
I think they would just be asking me why. Because when I was reading, that was one question.
Why what?
Why?
Just why?
Like, what? Yeah.
Why?
Just why?
Because when
why?
Winston's reading the
Question
book,
mark.
he's like, okay, so I know like how, but I don't know why.
Yeah.
I know why, but nobody ever does explain sufficiently why this is happening. So I feel like they would just be mad. Why Big Brother? Why all of this? I would ask them.
Those are the questions I've been getting.
I would ask my students if they think Big Brother is a real person.
We've had that discussion too. My kids are about 50-50. Some of my kids are like, there's some reason to believe he could be.
So it's kind of like how they talk about Goldstein.
It's exactly like Goldstein.
There's like, well, he may be real, but he's a myth more than a real person.
It seems reasonable that Big Brother could be someone real. I have no reason to believe the party wouldn't have some guy on a pedestal somewhere.
That because the description that they give, that Winston gives of him, of what he looks like on all of the posters,
Yeah, the
I'm like, that
mustachioed.
can be anybody.
But that's
Like,
kind of the point. It's like an
yeah.
Uncle Sam, right? He's
Right.
just like,
It's a propaganda piece.
yeah. So I think my kids are pretty much split on if it's real or not. And I think it's an okay question either way. If my students are wondering who would Big Brother be, I think that's a great question because I think the party would be wanting you to think the same thing. I encourage my kids to argue about who Big Brother could be. Because I had some kids who were like, maybe Winston is Big Brother. And I was like, we're doing a little bit of a stretch here. And they're like, maybe he knows more than he says. I was like, and we're only halfway through the book. I'm not shutting them down on any of these things because I at least want them to be thinking that.
Who could it be?
He's not actually the singular person of Big Brother, but Winston and his attitude
He reflects
embodies
it.
what
Right.
Big Brother is. Yeah.
Well, and I'm letting those questions live and breathe in my classroom because as soon as I figure out that Winston is as simple as we all think he is now, they're not going to wonder anymore. They're going to be like, what a dummy. He had all of these thoughts. He had all of these opinions. He had these beliefs. And so I'm trying to keep that cover on him long enough because they're going to be like, ugh.
Are they asking questions like, what could he have done?
We haven't talked about what he could have done. And like I said, we're only halfway through, so it hasn't come undone for them yet. I'll do an update on the pod once it's all collapsed around them. But right now, they're very much still trying to figure him out. Like, they don't know that they've pretty much seen the
Everything.
breath. Yeah, like they've pretty much seen as much of
Yeah, this
Winston as
doesn't
you're
go
really going to
deeper.
get. But you're set up to think he's got
more,
something.
right.
Like, you're set up to think there is a brain. My kids don't know they've already seen it all, which I love.
Yeah.
Because I'm not telling them that it only gets, you get less from him as we go.
What kind of a book would you write if you were going to write about the world 35 years from now?
I would write about wildlife. Animals would be reclaiming everything.
Okay.
A deer, it could be like from the point of Bambi.
Okay, so you're doing Animal Farm, but as...
I'd write Animal Farm.
Bambi being like, why?
What were you doing, my guy?
Yeah, why do
What
we have
if-
all these things? Why no more grass?
What if it was the rats of London telling the story of Oceania?
Pizza rat.
Pizza
yes.
rat. What I wrote down is that it would be some sort of collapse, environmental collapse following AI and the bubble burst. That would be my guess.
Uh-huh.
I was just trying to multiply whatever he had inspired, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm trying to just like multiply it to our current day because, like we said, I already hate how close we are.
Yeah.
I think for Christmas, I'm asking for a shirt that says "Make Orwell Fiction Again." Maybe we'll all just get one in our stocking, but I'm not really enjoying the thought
The thought police?
I'm not enjoying the thought crime of thinking about this. No.
Yeah.
I'm not even enjoying multiplying this to make it more present day because it's already too present day. When we,
are your students freaked out by that?
Yeah, my kids are terrified. They've been like, wait, why aren't they asking questions? Why is he just letting this happen? They ask so many good questions. And I'm like, why do they follow blindly?
Yeah.
Why? Or they'll talk about the telescreen. And I'm like, what's in your pocket?
What's always watching you?
I haven't taught this before, and a couple of our coworkers have. So this was new for me. So you're next.
I think I'm going to teach Fahrenheit 451 next year, actually.
Bring in some Ray to talk to our other two teachers who have taught it. They've both said that the kids have always liked this book. Like, this seems to be a well-loved book by students, and my kids are enjoying it. They would say the first part was slow, which I agree with. It was slow, but there's so much world building you have to do for it to work. I agree with them, but they're in it. My kids are of all kinds of backgrounds, all kinds of beliefs, all kinds of political leanings. So that's very interesting to hear because they make some pretty astute connections to things that they're seeing in the news and that they're hearing about and that they're reading about. So
something I think will also be interesting for you to discuss with them at the end is when O'Brien's like, the past isn't tangible, and how, because students have said that the past doesn't affect them.
Yeah, I had students right at the beginning of this that the history doesn't matter because what does it have to do with them? I'm excited to see if that shifts anything. Because what would Winston say? Or, any of them, Julia, whoever, they might have something different to say now. I've enjoyed throwing this in this year.
Have either of you read Fourth Wing?
No.
There's a line in it where it's one of the dragons that's in it tells the main character, it takes one generation to do the thing, one generation to change the teachings, another generation accepts it, and then that's history. And that's all I could think of when I was reading this.
Let me ask a speculative question. What do you think would have made more of a difference for Winston? What would have woken him from his dogmatic slumber? How do we shake him out of Ingsoc?
I don't think you can. Isn't that the point? Didn't we see his best chance?
I don't know. It didn't really seem like it. He was set up for failure. So, like, I mean, it seems like you were pointing to it earlier, like actual human relationship and not transactional.
Yeah, like it has to be something more than Julia.
But that's exactly what they're not going to let you have anyways. Right. So did he ever have a chance to experience?
Well, the party wouldn't, but maybe if he were not as concerned with that bureaucratic level of thinking, what if he's just spent time with the Pearls more? What is it that would actually make Winston dangerous?
That's a good question.
I think legitimate cultural enjoyment, art, intimacy, we have to imagine what is absent from Winston's life entirely.
Well, it's everything they've taken on purpose.
Fraternity, a break from work, a vacation.
Which doesn't exist,
Because they've taken a lot of the bad.
But
cultures,
in the bad,
you take the good.
The experience of other cultures, not Ingsoc.
Yeah.
My students are enjoying the book as much as they'll enjoy anything that we assign them. They're asking really good questions, and by the time this podcast comes out, Winston will probably be caught, so it'll be getting much more exciting. But it's been a fun addition to my curriculum for sure, and I figure why not now? So
yeah, I'm glad you added it.
I am too, and it's been a good stretch for me.
Listeners, and thank you so much for tuning in to this week's episode of 16 to 1. This show is produced by a two-woman team, your co-hosts Katie Day, our lead researcher and social media manager, and Chelsea Adams, that's me. I edit and produce the show, and I also make the music you hear in our episodes. Please consider subscribing to the show or recommending it to a friend or colleague. We love word-of-mouth support. Visit our website at 16to1.com for show notes and resources, or to get in touch with us. 16 to 1 is sponsored by Moonbeam Multimedia, a firm that partners with civic innovators, educators, and mission-driven organizations to help create stronger communities.
I literally wrote in the Margin, you're kidding. When they said that there's a statue of Oliver Cromwell on horseback, I was like, you gotta be kidding me, this guy. And then I was like, okay.
I saw the Cromwell line. I was like, go figure.
I was like, I understand this so much better now. The Puritans are making an appearance.
Yeah.
Like, okay.